Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the morning show right here on Main Street TV, where it's still a little warm today.
It is.
So far, until it gets cold. But that's okay, because yesterday was like summer. I don't know what happened.
It was very nice yesterday.
It was very nice. Got to go out and play some Frisbee with the Corgi. She was real happy about that. But anyway, welcome to the morning show. We have some special guests here in the studio today, one of which is from our favorite place, Holzer. And you are a new nurse practitioner working at Holzer, of course. And let's see. So it says Lisa Chapman, occupational... What did you say? Ahmed? Yes. Sounds really Ahmed. Makes me sound so smart, like Ahmed. But no. So occupational medicine, nurse practitioner. So we want to welcome Lisa to the show.
Thank you.
Yes, and she is so happy to be here.
I am.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to find out all of the things that Lisa can help you out with after this message.
Would you like to work closer to home, save money on gas, and be rewarded for your hard work and attendance? Then Bellisio Foods is looking for you. That's right, Bellisio Foods is now hiring for multiple positions and shifts with great employee benefits, an on-site health clinic, competitive wages, and advancement opportunities. Bellisio Foods is a company that truly values their employees. Apply online at belisiofoods.com/careers.
And we are back. So we had to clarify. So Lisa has another name too.
Yes.
There's one in the middle.
Yes, it's Lisa Ehman-Chapman.
Ehman-Chapman. So just so we got that under control. Okay. All right. We got it. No problem. And there's a story behind that, but we're not going to talk about that, right? Okay. Well, very good. So let's talk, Lisa, let's talk for a minute about, how you ended up here. What's been your journey as far as being a nurse practitioner?
I went straight out of high school into the University of Rio Grande for the nursing program on an ROTC scholarship.
Oh,
paid
cool.
for all of my tuition. And then whenever I graduated, I went straight to Kentucky because they had promised I'd be able to work in pediatrics. They did not. My roommate did. So I was a little salty.
Well, that's mean.
I was like, no. But it was actually the very best thing for me to have done because I got so much experience there.
Okay.
And then I moved back here because I was extremely homesick, just being an hour away.
Sure.
So I moved back, had worked in another med-surg at the Rivers now, and then went into home health, and then landed into pediatrics for the last 20 years, and loved it. But I needed to expand and grow, and it had just kind of peaked at as much as I could do.
Sure.
So I went back to school at the University of Rio Grande again and got my BSN.
Okay.
And then my sister talked me into going and getting my nurse practitioner.
Very good.
Yes. And so then when I graduated, I wanted to do a more adult medicine so that I had been out of it for so long that I didn't know the ups and downs and knew ins and outs of everything that had changed. So I did urgent care for the last 3.5 years, and then...
well, that'll teach you.
Oh, yes, it does. It does, and it was fun.
Yeah.
But, and then I saw that there was such a great need for occupational medicine for the people who had issues with workman's comp, who had issues just with being healthy and staying healthy to be able to work.
Sure.
And then, of course, with the Department of Transportation exams the truckers have to have, there wasn't that many people that can do them, and there's not anybody that does them on Saturdays that we know of. So we are probably going to be starting doing them once a month on Saturdays here soon.
Okay, that's really cool. Mm-hmm. Very cool. You know what I think is so cool about what nurse practitioners in general, that you all are so well-rounded because, and this is nothing against doctors. Obviously they have all the experience, but you all just get yourselves into all kind of things and learn all of these different departments, and because you have to,
yes,
and
you do.
Because you've worked as a nurse, you have that side of it too.
Exactly.
It's just such a neat profession.
And you see so much with med-surg that at first it's extremely overwhelming.
I would think so.
But then whenever you've been in it for so long, and then it just snowballs over into whatever different position you take, it goes from on and on and on, and you use every bit of that information and knowledge that you've learned.
You know, and it is, you're well-rounded, but you still end up kind of in a niche.
You do.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the niche can change.
It does. I loved home health I did it for 3.5 years, and then had the opportunity to go to pediatrics, which was what I wanted to do
So
from the
cute.
get-go.
Yeah.
But, and did 20 years there, and at
That's
Holzer's.
amazing. Very good.
Yes, so I came back.
So very good. Well, we're so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
So what would be your typical is not a good word, somebody that would come see you? Who would be your patient?
We've done a lot of pre-physicals for work to make sure that they're healthy to be able to work.
Okay.
And then of course, the DOT exams for the drivers. We've had to do those just to make sure that they're safe to be on the road.
Okay.
And that means checking their urine for glucose to make sure they don't have diabetes, to check
Sure.
their blood pressure, to make sure they're not hypertensive, because many are and you just don't know that you are. And the same goes for being a diabetic. They have no idea that their blood sugars are high. They just know they don't feel good.
Sure.
And that they're tired and they just don't feel good. That's what we hear a lot. And then all of a sudden
Yeah.
they've got sugar in their urine and their blood pressures are sky high and they had no idea. And then we also check their vision, their peripheral vision, their ability to be able to get in and out of a truck and be able to be safely on the road.
Well, that would make sense considering you're driving a ginormous, heavy piece of metal up and
have
down
to watch
the
out
highway.
for all the crazy people who don't know how to drive.
So, you know, that is such a good point. I was, my husband and I were coming back from Columbus the other day, and there was a truck in front of us, and the people were doing the dumbest things to this person.
They do.
And I was just like, I don't know. I feel so sorry for them. And people don't appreciate this is just my rant for a minute. People don't appreciate the fact that we would have nothing in this country if truckers didn't get in their trucks and
Yes.
drive up and down the road.
And they're away from families for days at a time.
Yes. So you might want to be a little bit more empathetic toward
Exactly.
them. That's just Jen's, soapbox for a moment. But, okay, so then some of the other work-related things that you would deal with, obviously probably like drug testing and...
Drug testing, doing just their general physicals, and then also with workman's comp, getting them to the services that they need to get them better so they can go back to work.
Sure, absolutely, because God forbid you are injured at work. That's a whole thing. But
Yes.
the whole goal of you is to get that person
Back to
well
work.
and back to work. That's win-win for everybody.
Exactly.
So as far as somebody like that has a business like I do, on the employer side, what would be services that you would offer for an employer?
For the employer, it's getting that employee back to work, and then also making sure that they're healthy and well and being able to go to work,
And-
like before employment.
Yeah, and that's like just a good practice, to make sure everybody's well and can do the job properly. Okay, and you are now accepting new patients?
Yes.
And you are at which Holzer facility?
We're at 280 Pattonsville Road here in Jackson.
That's the one up on top of the hill.
hill.
Yeah. That's the easiest way to say
It
it.
is.
You say Pattonsville Road, people are like, I've lived here all my life and I still can't remember which one's Burlington and which one's Pattonsville. I say up on top of the hill, I can remember that. Yes, very good. So how would somebody come to get to see you?
All they have to do is call the Holzer number, which I think is 188 for Holzer.
1-855 for
For
Holzer. Yeah.
And then they would be able to schedule an appointment with me if they needed for physicals, for the DOT exams, for anything that they would need, and especially for workman's comp.
Okay, very good. And, a lot of times I'm sure people get to you through even the urgent care or something of
do.
that manner. They fell and they just got checked out.
And they go ahead and get them set up an appointment already before they even leave, usually.
Perfect.
The
Or go
urgent
to your
care or
family
the ER.
doctor even too. You don't have to, but...
Right. And then what I've also been seeing is that most of them don't have a family doctor. And then that way we find things that they need to go and get seen. So that way we can at least get them started with an establishing care with someone to get that problem seen, be it high blood pressure.
High blood pressure or sugar or whatever. Now, if you have high blood pressure or, you have a diabetes situation going on that you may or may not know about, that doesn't keep you from being able
absolutely
to
not.
drive a truck or work or
No.
whatever. It's just that needs to be addressed.
so it doesn't get worse, so you don't end up with a stroke or a heart attack.
Yes, absolutely. So these things are very important. This is what's so cool about like the Holzer family in general, is that say somebody comes to see you, you can help them get set up with that family doctor or vice versa. And it's so very, very important that all the diagnostic testing is right there in under one roof, and everybody's kind of in the same building and can talk to each other. How helpful is that?
Very, because I last had one of my patients who needed x-rays, he needed chiropractic care. Then we realized he needed an MRI, and he was able to do all that just by coming to that one spot and not having to go anywhere else. He literally was just going from different direction to direction.
You know, we are so blessed. I hope people understand how blessed we are to have, you know, Holzer here in our area. I mean, even if you were in the big city, if you were in Columbus, you'd probably have to drive from building to building to building.
Right.
God forbid, you know, all the way across town to go get some of that diagnostic stuff done. So the fact that we can do it right here all under one roof is pretty cool.
It is.
Yes.
Makes it very convenient.
It does. And we have lovely people like Lisa here to take care of you. Free plug for her. Very good. What is an interesting case that you've seen?
Gosh.
Like something that people would not think of. See,
I would have to say, when I did urgent care, he came through and he was telling me, he says, I just don't feel good. And he said, and my vision's getting blurry and I need to go to the eye doctor. And it's just, I don't know. I just don't feel good. That's just all the information I got.
Okay.
So, and then I was going,
fair.
Thanks. Okay, here we go. So we did some blood work and come to find out he had extreme type 2 diabetes. His blood sugar was in the 400s and 500s. Exactly.
No wonder he just didn't feel good.
And then I got, but the good thing was the follow-up was he came back within 2 weeks because we had to do some follow-up and make sure his labs were good and had improved. And he went, I can see. He said, nothing's blurry now. I can see. And I was like, I know. He said, and I feel good and I'm sleeping through the night. And I was like, yeah. That happens whenever your blood sugar gets regulated.
That's what a normal human being is supposed to feel like.
Yes. So that was my favorite story.
You know, and that's so good because, I mean, how rewarding is it that you, like, helped that human? And he probably, honestly, would have had something really bad happen to him.
Exactly. And it would have gotten to the point that it probably would have been more of ending up in the emergency room.
Yes.
Especially with being that high.
Very good. Very good. Well, I've been trying to think if there's anything. Is there anything else you wanted to tell our viewers while you're here? Because we want to make sure people get to know you.
I really enjoy what I do and being there and liking to help people and get them better and feeling good and making sure that we're doing everything that we can to get them back to work and feeling 100%.
And that's the main thing, is that it's win-win for everybody if we all feel good.
Exactly. And it's enjoyable to go to work because then you're with people and interacting, and it just makes everyone feel better.
It does. Mm-hmm. Very, very good. All right, and then, so let's talk for 1 second about you said that you may or you have already started those DOT.
We're going to start doing them hopefully in March.
Okay, so it will be a thing.
Yes,
on Saturdays.
One Saturday a month.
Up at the clinic.
Up at the clinic.
Okay.
Probably during urgent care hours, but we'll see, and we'll have it posted.
Okay.
But yes, at least one Saturday a month, so that way people can get in and get their DOTs done without having to take a day off from work.
That is so convenient. And then will they have to have an appointment for that or just come on in?
Either one.
Okay.
More than likely they'll need an appointment, but we'll definitely do walk-ins.
Okay. See? Mm-hmm. That's just Holzer making things convenient.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so 1-855-4-HOLZER to schedule an appointment. Lisa we'll say that, Chapman. And we appreciate you so much. Occupational medicine, if you have any work-related injuries or concerns, or just aren't feeling good and want to get back to work,
Yes,
give her a call. How's that?
that sounds great.
All right. Well, before you leave, I always have to ask this question. What's your favorite part about working at Holzer?
I think it's the family atmosphere and that everyone is so nice and friendly and welcoming, because I had been there for 20 years and had my Pete's family. And then
Sure.
whenever I left and came back, I was very nervous because it wasn't pediatrics. It wasn't the girls I had worked with. It was a whole new group of girls and men.
Sure.
And I shouldn't say girls, I should say women, but it was a whole, just another family that's welcomed me right in.
And that's amazing. And you feel that as both an employee of Holzer and also as a patient at Holzer. Even the facilities are nice and warm and inviting. It's not
Yes.
stark and
No.
hospital-y and all that.
No, not at all.
Is hospital-y a word?
I think it is.
It is
We're going to
now.
call it a Lisa-ism.
Okay.
There we go.
Lisa-ism. All right. Well, you give our good friend Lisa here a call if you need her, and she will be very, very happy to see you. All right. Well, we do have another message, and then our City of Jackson Police Chief Brett Hinsch is here, and we're going to put him on the spot about all kind of fun stuff, and he's so looking forward to it. So we'll be right back.
At Vinton County National Bank, we believe in supporting the areas where we live and work. Now, we'd like to honor those who also serve our communities. Our new Community Champions account is especially for first responders, veterans, active military, and anyone employed in the fields of healthcare or education. This account offers rewards, discounts, and other benefits to those who give so much to others. Vinton County National Bank, rewarding those who serve.
Okay, and we are back with City of Jackson Police Chief Brett Hinsch. And Brett, it's been a little bit since you've been here, and you and I were chatting kind of on the street one day and said, let's fill some people in on. There's been some new laws passed. There's been a few things that's changed here in the city, and who better to fill everyone in on what those things are than you? So here you are.
Well, let's start off, I'd say, with the truth, and that's that you probably had 5 or 6 other people that you wanted to come today, and they couldn't come. So then I just had to be here.
Absolutely not. No, straight from the horse's mouth. That's what we like to do.
Whenever you invite me, I'm like, why would anybody really want to talk to me about some of this stuff? But I guess it's interesting to other
It's
people.
super interesting and
and
informative.
if I can be informative, we'd love to. We love to be able to do that for our citizens. So as you kind of talked, we've made a lot of changes in the last 3 years at Jackson PD, and one of the things that we've done is try to help solve long-time problems, long-time complaints that residents have had, and one of those is as downtown's being revitalized, I think it's busier. And
oh yeah.
we've had some new businesses open up that's created more traffic and more parking issues. And so one of the challenges that we wanted to address was the parking. And some of the parking in the downtown, the council extended the 4-hour parking area to include Portsmouth Street, which is, I think, close to where your business is.
Yep.
And that wasn't the reason. It's just that a lot of times people, like even during Apple Festival, and I've watched this over the years, people will come
Don't
and
get
park
me on my soapbox.
earlier and earlier. I mean, before too long, it's going to be like the 1st of August. People are going to start parking vehicles all
their
along
pickup
Portsmouth
trucks
Street
up and down the
and leave
street.
them there until the Apple Festival's over. And of course, that creates other congestion, other parking issues.
It does.
So we looked at the downtown parking, and so we try to really take care of everybody's complaints with that. We have, of course, there are a lot of new Airbnbs downtown,
Yes.
business owners, building owners
Which
that have
is
put.
great.
Yes, it's absolutely wonderful for it. And some of them are beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But they need places for their people to be able to park who are staying in those Airbnbs. We have business owners who obviously want parking for their customers.
That's helpful.
Yes, it's very helpful. And then, of course, we have issues with sometimes people leaving cars there for really extended period of time, which limits those, I don't know, 260 parking spaces in the downtown. So we took this all into account and we said, you know what would be really great is if we had a period of time that people were really not allowed to park there to basically clear it out at least once a day. And so we came up with from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. just no parking in the downtown, which clears it up. But before we alarm everybody,
I was going to say, before you freak out, listen.
Before we freak out, there is a permit process that you can apply for a permit through the city. And we have residential parking permits, and that would take for anybody that lives in an apartment downtown.
Yes.
Anybody that has, there will be some guest passes, which is what Airbnb owners would apply for so that they can give those to their guests.
Yes.
And there are some what we call staff parking. But if you have a business that has a pretty legitimate reason to have somebody there, like let's just take, for instance, the donut place that's downtown. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe they have to fire their fryers up at 2 a.m. and so they're
time to make the donuts.
Yeah. So,
right.
You know, there's a brewery downtown, and so I don't know when those people need to be there and maybe need to park there.
Yes.
So they can also apply and get those. And so what Jackson PD can do is for those hours just kind of patrol that area, and if they have the tags, which will be just parking pass that you can hang from your mirror. We'll kind of leave it alone. But we'll know with the number who it is if in case there's like snow emergency or special events or there's street closures or for road or utility maintenance. We would then have a database that we can make a phone call and say, hey, we need to have your vehicle moved by this time.
Okay, that's smart.
And so it's a way to communicate better instead of just the police showing up in the last minute emergency. We're paving the road. There were people that didn't know it. And we have to tow. We try not to have to do that.
Of course.
So that goes into effect. Let me look at my notes there. The parking goes into effect April 13th. And so we're still in some development phase on getting those permits. But we should have more out later, and we'll release that all to the public.
So here's the bottom line about this. And I think your plan is probably the most reasonable one I've heard in I can't even tell you how long. But so good job by you. And everyone else involved in that. But here's the thing. If you live downtown, you can get a permit. That doesn't mean you have to go out at 3 a.m. and move your car off the street. So don't panic about that.
No,
we're all being reasonable
What
here.
it should do is not really limit what anybody really needs to do, but it'll help take people who were extending the use of this public property, maybe taking a vehicle and just saying, I'm just going to leave it here for a month. While I go, while I go off on vacation or, I work out of town or the car's broken down. It gives us a chance to say, we need to move that out so that everybody in the public can enjoy those public spaces when they need it. And we think that'll be the most helpful for everybody. But for anybody who uses the downtown on a regular basis, who's not living down there, not working down there in the middle of the night, it really shouldn't affect you at all. And that's one of the beautiful things about this new change that we've made. So.
Okay, and so about mid-April, we'll start.
And I would expect
that.
to hear more from the city before that goes into effect. And of course, anytime a new law takes effect, we try to be more informative in the first time instead of just going out and trying to enforce it on day one, as strict as we can possibly do. So anybody parked in those zones during that time without the permit would be subject to ticket and be subject to a parking ticket and subject to potentially tow if the event if it requires it. So we're trying to avoid that. We don't like to do that. We don't like to tow vehicles, but sometimes it's a necessary evil in our business.
Your vehicle breaking down is not an excuse to leave it there for a month. You know what I mean? Or whatever. If you need help.
It's almost like everything else in life. If there's good communication, a lot of times we can come up with a solution to the problem. I mean, we're able to help get people services at times. We have a jump box every once in a while. If somebody's like, I'm broken down, they need a jump, we can come up. People get offended sometimes that we don't allow people to hook jumper cables up to our cruisers, but there's so many $1,000s worth of electronic and computer equipment in there
Yeah.
that
Do you
help
know
us
how
do
much
our jobs.
electronics is in there?
You can
No.
get back feeds. So what we do, we have a jump box that you can just hook up, and it's like hooking up to with jumper cables. But yeah,
That's just good practice
we're
anyway.
here to help more than we're I think sometimes we get a bad rap that we do a lot more helping of people, I think, than we do ruining
you do
people's
too.
lives. So
It's just you hear about the crime stories and you hear about those kind of situations. You don't hear about all the the good stuff that you guys do every day.
the Randy Evans's administration and I have worked closely in developing just what we think are common sense solutions to a lot of issues and problems. And I don't know how far you want to get into the two other ordinances that we worked on to get implemented.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. You're here, so let's go over those.
About the same time we started addressing this parking issue, we'd gotten complaints of panhandlers. Does anybody love? Have you ever heard anybody say, "I wish we had more panhandlers"? People that
I'm not thinking so.
people that stay outside of businesses and have signs and try to obtain money from either cars or pedestrians.
Correct.
Whenever it happens, the police department gets flooded with calls. There's people begging for money,
But so is panhandling, somebody that just needs money and they're asking at the entrance to, the Kroger Plaza, or is panhandling like Pee Wee football asking for money outside, Walmart?
So for
Can we define that, I guess?
Okay, so panhandling for individuals, and there's a variety of needs. There are people that are legitimately down on their luck that need some money to maybe get through today. There's also a lot of people that exploit that and try to look like that's what their situation is to try to get money. It impedes traffic. It can be dangerous. It can cause accidents. And for the most part, what I've noticed from the number of calls that we get, people in Jackson, they don't really like when that happens.
Okay.
However,
but is it someone's right to stand out on?
it's you can't ever make it illegal to ask somebody for money.
Okay.
Will you give me $5? That we can't make that illegal.
Okay.
But what we can do is regulate in the way that they do it, where they
Okay.
stand, how they have permission to be on private property, and so. When I get the complaints and council talks to me and says, there's panhandlers out by Walmart, they're out by Kroger, they're in the way, they almost got hit. They've got kids with them, the kids almost got hit.
The dog almost got hit.
Those
Yeah.
types of complaints, and I have to look at them and say, we don't have anything on the books that I can do about it. And
You can only enforce the laws that exist.
and I'm so glad you said that, because that's one of those things that I think people get this misconception that, well, you're the police, you just tell people what to do and they have to do it. There has to be a legislative law that we can enforce that somebody's in violation of.
Yeah.
And so we worked with finding out how other cities have dealt with this issue, and there's some really good legislation out there in cities about our size.
Don't reinvent the wheel. Do what others have
And
done.
so we introduced Chapter 729, I think is what it is, into the codified ordinance. Let me see, that one takes effect March 23rd.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it does. It gives us the ability to help regulate that. Along with that ordinance, one of the complaints we get are, people who are trying to use the parks and homeless people that are staying there and spreading out and getting in the way. We get a lot of phone calls about that, because I think that just the unknown with that, I think the stigma that comes with that, which is not always true, but it makes people nervous, and I understand that. And our job is to protect and keep people safe. And so again, we've got some people staying in the gazebo in the park, and then they kind of ruin it for the use of everybody else. They overextend their stay. Those things were never intended to be a permanent housing or even a temporary for a month and a half housing for anybody.
Sure.
And so I said, again, we don't really have anything on the books there isn't anything that stops a person from going and pitching a tent in the middle of Manpower Park right now. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, we don't have anything on the books that we can do about that. And so we put a no camping ordinance in. So no camping on public property. And
Okay.
what inspires that is, I'm sure everybody over the years has seen these images of Seattle and Portland and some of these cities out west where, you have residential neighborhood and you have people camped on the sidewalk because that's their right to be on public property, and there isn't anything anybody can do about that. And that's not necessarily the case. There was a landmark decision that came from the United States Supreme Court that was ruled back in June of last year, reaffirming that cities are allowed to make no camping ordinances on that. And so we've added that to the books as well. It goes into effect March 23rd. And so it gives us that ability to help regulate that stuff. And
what exactly does it mean, though? Like
what it means is, if through approval through the city, if a Boy Scout troop wants to go camp there with an approval, you could go do that. We've never really had that I'm aware of. But it means that if somebody wants to go lay out a bed mat and pitch make a tent out of boxes and right on the sidewalk in Manpower Park, and start to spread out, and the trash starts to spread out in a fan, away from that area, and create that and say, this is where I'm staying for right now.
Okay.
It enables us to go say, no, you can't really do that, and get it removed and get them removed from that area. Now, what we do in addition to that, because we're compassionate to the people that are down on their luck.
This is a sensitive subject here. Let's be honest.
And it's very sensitive, because what I've seen in my career are people who are truly destitute, and I've seen people who are exploiting the goodwill of others. I'll just give you for instance. We had this guy one time that was, he was intentionally staying under the bridge under 32, right in between KFC and the highway. He was staying under there. And you know what everybody wanted to do was give him blankets. And he had 78 blankets under there. And stores of food, and was given several opportunities to get out of this atmosphere and get to shelters, homes, get him into work programs. And he said, no, I like what I'm doing here, because people just keep giving to me. And unfortunately, what that does is that message spreads, and then more people who want to exploit that can come.
Is a catch-22, because our community is very giving.
They are.
And we're so proud of that. But also... So
one of the things we're working with is try to get a program to be able to do some hotel vouchers, some ride payments, because we aren't set up with really good facilities to deal with homelessness. A lot of times with homelessness comes with mental health needs, drug addiction needs, not always in all cases, but in a lot of them. And so we're really working on trying to get a little bit of funding to be able to do what makes sense to help this person in this individual case. Sometimes you wouldn't believe what you can solve with a $75 ride to somewhere that's got good facilities for maybe a homeless veteran or something like that just needs to get to where they need to go. They just need
help. Or that boost of help.
Or we've had people that end up, people make bad decisions, and people are in desperate situations. Let's say they left Cleveland. Their intention is to go to Raleigh, North Carolina. They stop here for gas. Their car breaks down.
And they're stuck.
And they're kind of stuck. They're on their last $30. Sometimes helping get things fixed and get them on their way is the best way to make sure that we don't have people hanging around here that are, a lot of times, I hate to say it, a lot of times our experience at Jackson PD, when people are homeless and desperate, they eventually start to commit crimes. And my job is to protect the citizens of the city of Jackson.
And a lot of times, this is just my opinion, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but the crimes are not like because they're bad people, it's because they're desperate.
No, they're desperate. But that doesn't mean, and like I say, even with some of the outreach and the giving that's out there, there were these homeless people staying in the park over the summer. People had given, they knew that, so they'd given them Little Caesars pizzas. And they'd given them some blankets. And I got a call the next morning from the city crew who showed me pictures. They had stuffed all the Little Caesars pizza they didn't eat in the toilet, jammed it up, folded the box up, stuffed it in there, blankets. And so it creates, so if you're a citizen who's using these public parks and you go in, you have to use the restroom at the park, that's what you walk into.
Yep.
And so we're trying to get the balance of being able to help the people that are in need.
Sure.
But also keep the facilities that the public's using their tax money to pay for nice and usable for them. So
love that.
That was the whole purpose with that. So those three ordinances, I'm glad we got to work with the council's been really good to work with, the mayor's administration, They've been wonderful to work with to make what we think are common sense solutions to problems that exist. So.
And sometimes just because something wasn't on the books doesn't mean that it wasn't being dealt with. It means that maybe this is a new problem that, you know what I mean? Like 25 years ago, you probably didn't have to address some of these issues.
There are, in fact, I was talking to one of my officers this morning, Patrolman Richie Kaiser at station. He said, "Did you hear that the state of Ohio is changing theft of mail back into the hands of a state offense that will make it a felony in the 5th degree?" I've not read it, so I hope Richie was correct in this.
As you just announced it here.
And it's something I'm very interested to look at later, because it'll make it a felony in the 5th degree to do what we call in our business porch pirates, people who go around and see that you've had something delivered to your house. Nobody's home, nobody's picked it up yet.
Can't
They
believe
get out of
that's a
their car, they
thing.
walk up, they take the box, and they leave. It'll increase the penalty for that. At Jackson PD, we have a really good solve rate on that. And thankfully, there's a lot of people, best thing you can have is a camera.
Get you a flip and ring doorbell.
Yes.
They don't cost anything, and it can solve the world of problems.
Get a good camera, and it does knock down that. But we do experience some of those calls each year. People doing it, especially around holiday time.
Oh yeah.
It's a way to help protect them. And I like the state of Ohio's trying to. It sounds like I don't want to go on record
Allegedly.
there, but it sounds like they're trying to make a change to this, and that sounds like a wonderful thing to me, because what we want is, if we order stuff, we want to make sure that it's there on our porch.
Well, again, I mean, this is a law that's being changed because we didn't have Amazon however
Right.
long ago
Right.
that everybody orders their toilet paper and every other flipping thing in the world, from. So the porch pirate thing wasn't a thing.
Yeah. So I hope they're not calling it porch piracy, but I mean, I guess it'd be pretty cool if they did.
I mean,
one of our new tools that we've added this year was we actually have a pretty wicked drone.
okay, I got to hear about this. What all does this thing do?
So we got this drone, and it's I don't know, about the size of an outdoor trash can lid.
Wait,
I
do you
guess.
get to fly it?
I don't, because I'm not an FAA certified pilot. We have one of our officers, Officer Blair Strange, who went off and got his FAA drone pilot certification. We have 2 other officers that are starting to go through that program to be able to fly it. But what it does is we're able to fly with FAA regulations in the city, and it has thermal imaging. It has a light that we can attach to it. It has a really good cameras on it. And so it's a really good tool, not just for the police, also for the fire, any kind of search and rescue.
Oh my gosh, yes.
In the unfortunate shooting incident that took place a couple months ago down off 4 Mile Road, we actually were the first to be able to deploy an aerial unit for reconnaissance and safety, because a lot of times you call air support from the State Highway Patrol, but they fly out of Columbus. So it takes a while for them to get down there. So it's with some of those capabilities, think about, an Alzheimer's patient that walks out of their home.
That was the first thing that occurred to me.
We can typically, this will assist in helping us find that. We've missing kids. You can search larger areas, wooded areas. With the thermal, you can. I mean, right now, if there was a person walking through the woods, at night you could see. You might not be able to see them if they're wearing dark clothing or something, but you can actually see the thermal image that pops up. It's
That
beautiful.
is so cool.
We've used it a couple times for reconnaissance on higher risk arrests, where we can go fly and see where somebody is. In fact, I can remember one incident. I won't get real specific with it, but we got a call that they were looking for somebody that had warrants on a felony, and we knew where they were. We knew where they lived. They wanted us to check. We used the drone to check. They were going in and out of their home, and as the police came up, they left the home and went and hid in the car, but we were able to just give the units immediate, we saw them. They just went
They're
from
in
the
the
back
car.
door into the car. The units didn't even go to the house. They just went right to the car and took them into custody right there. And so it's, for a safety issue, it's a wonderful program, but it's wonderful for the idea of just being able to search for when kids go missing, large area in a shorter amount of time, and the safety aspect of it. So I don't think we've even touched the limits of where we can get with it. So, obviously we've got good policy in place to make sure that we're not misusing it or using it to spy on citizens or anything that may come up as a conspiracy.
Yeah.
No, it has to be a call generated, and we're flying a lot of public areas. So it's a great tool for us, and I'm really glad that we have it. So
That is super cool. Well, very good. Well, you're just full of it this morning. I just love that.
Well, it's been a while since I've been on.
It has been. Well, can we just, and Jeremiah just walked in, so it is time to do some news here in just a minute, but can we address I don't know, I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but we do have a tax levy coming up.
We do.
And a city of Jackson tax levy, and without beating around the bush, our city of Jackson tax levy will be up this year sometime, fall, I think, but it's going to be on the primary ballot, or it is on the primary ballot.
It's going to
right?
be on the primary ballot. Yes.
And a lot of this income tax money does go to fund the police department.
We are entirely funded by the money that comes from the tax.
So let me ask you this: if it doesn't pass, what happens?
Well, we are gonna. My biggest fear is that we're going to go back to a lower personnel, no equipment, no training. We're going to be reactive. Right now, the last 3 years, we've been an extremely proactive police department. We've reduced double-digit percentages, thefts, drug overdoses, drug deaths, burglaries almost non-existent. B&Es are relatively non-existent for us. Car thefts are down double-digit percent. Even things that you think they can't control, domestics are down double-digit percent.
Oh, wow.
Assaults are down double-digit percentages. And I don't have all those percentages here with me that I factored, but they've steadily come down, and that's because we've had good personnel, a good number of personnel,
Yes.
good training, good equipment, and good tools, and that's what it takes. For so much of my career there, we really weren't able to handle more than 2 or 3 people need arrested at the same time. That was about the max. And if it got anything super serious, we had to call in other help, and we had to be at their mercy.
Sure.
I feel like we have really prepared everybody and equipped everybody to handle almost any scenario that you can think of. And we think of things like active shooters. Every one of our guys has been to basic SWAT training. Does that make them, superheroes? No, it doesn't. But they know how to move and operate together and use the equipment. Getting level 4 vests. If there's an active shooter in a school, in a building, we hope that never happens here. But as you read in the news, it happens in random cities across the country.
It happens in the most random places.
And you need an immediate response. And the idea of having some SWAT team off to the side that's just ready to break the glass when you need them and have them be already equipped and ready and trained, it's impossible. Who's going to respond? Your patrol officers. I have 2 to 3 patrol officers that are on duty and some other support personnel at times at the police department. That's going to be your first response team. They need to be equipped, they need to be trained to be able to handle any and all situations. I'm really happy with our solve rate. If somebody's storage unit gets broken into in most cities in Ohio, the police will come out, they'll take a nice report. So if you want to submit it to an insurance company, you can. You know what my guys love to do? They get competitive about solving it.
They do too. I've seen it.
You've seen.
Oh my God.
They've come to your business on somebody hit my car in the parking lot a week ago, or bump the side of a building or something like that. They're up trying to get video. A lot of times with that video, we're getting the answer to it. We're bringing the person in. We get the confession. We get the appropriate charge, and we go about our day. But our solve rate I'd put our solve rate on a department our size against anybody in the country, because our guys know the way the community works. And if you got rid of, if this tax doesn't pass and they start to issue layoffs, if they start to say, the guys that are working there start to get nervous and go, I may not have a job at the end of the year. They're going to start looking for other opportunities. And there's not a huge group of people knocking on the door to go be law enforcement officers these days. No. It's not the same as it was 25 years ago. And so we've got really good, well-trained personnel. We aren't going to be able to lay them off have them go other places, and then just turn the faucet back on and have them have the same department that we have
Sure.
now. So it's very important to me that we do. I've really liked to stand on our body of work. I'm sure
Yeah.
there are people that are unhappy. A lot of times when you arrest people, those customers are not your happy customers.
Sure.
But we're making, I look at the number of arrests that we make and the transition of the more serious crimes. They've gotten to where we're making the same number of arrests, but the group of things that we're arresting are lesser in seriousness.
Okay.
And that's a really good move. That's a really good way to measure some of the success that you're having. Some of the guys are still out, they're still active, and they're getting time to deal with the smaller stuff. Isn't that what we want our police to do?
Yes, we want them to be proactive and not
Yes.
reactive.
Yes.
It's a very simple.
Anybody can go down and write a report for an insurance company, but who can solve it and hold a person accountable? And when that word gets out, people are less likely to want to do the things that victimize the citizens that we're sworn to protect and that we feel very honored to protect. So I know it's hard to get on a ballot and say, yes, I'd like to go ahead and volunteer to pay a 1.5% income tax. I think there was confusion in the last election that they thought it was an additional tax.
Yeah,
it was not.
it was very
It's a
confusing, I
continuation. I think the way some of it was written, that it was a permanent. Nothing's ever permanent. It can always be taken off by an action of the voters. And so what I've seen from the other half of the use in the street improvements, the sidewalks, the curbs, I've been more proud to live in this town the last 3 years than I ever have. It just looks beautiful, and it creates this chain reaction of individual business owners. My
It's
wife
positive peer
and I
pressure,
own a
right?
business. We've redone some of our sidewalks and entryways at our expense. We've painted the building. We've tried to improve the way it looks because and I love for that to continue. And this tax is so important for that to continue, and for the police department to continue with all the successes that I feel like we've had.
Okay.
So
Fair enough.
I hope voters go out and do that. I'm kind of scared. I can tell you this: I don't want to be chief of a 5-man department.
No,
I don't have any interest. After the success we've had, I would be so frustrated and
It would be
just
very
just
disappointing.
responding with writing a report and moving on. So, we really hope the voters see that and come out in droves to show their support for the city and all the progress that we feel like it's made.
Very good.
So,
Well, keep up the good work, Chief.
okay.
We appreciate you so much and your entire department and all the first responders and everybody out there, for what you all do. It's a thankless job most of the time. And
We get more thank yous than you'd think.
good. I'm glad to hear that. All right, Jackson Police Chief Brett Hinsch, we want to thank you for spending your morning with us, filling us in on some of the new stuff going on here in the
Yeah.
city. And we do have a message, and our good friend Jeremiah will be back with some news.
Love is in the air, and Main Street TV wants to treat you and your Valentine to something special. Enter our Table for Two Valentine's Day contest for a chance to win big. Here's how to join. Go to our Facebook page, like and share our post, and comment with a picture of you and your Valentine. The photo with the most likes will win an amazing prize pack, including VIP passes to Southern Rock Woodstock. Plus, you'll join us live on our February 14th cooking show. Hurry, the deadline to enter is February 10th at 4 p.m. Main Street TV, your community, your story.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Today we're expecting partly cloudy with highs of 48 and lows of 31. For Wednesday over here, we're expecting a 60% chance of snow and rain, so make sure to bundle up with highs of 40 and lows of 39. For Thursday, make sure to bring your umbrellas because we are having a 100% chance of rain with highs of 59 and lows of 30. Thank you.
All right. Well, we are back with our good friend Jeremiah Shaver, and we are going to talk about. There was a whole lot of shaking going on in Jackson here yesterday. If you didn't feel it, we had an earthquake.
We did. We had
Can
an
you
earthquake.
believe it?
So yesterday afternoon, I was here in the office. I personally didn't feel anything, but I heard something, but I brushed it off as one of those sonic booms we hear from the jets all the
Which
time.
is a common
It's
occurrence
like,
here in our
it
area.
is in our area. It's so common anymore to hear one of those, especially this time of year. I've written numerous stories about those and how they happen and everything. And I mean, looking back now, like we were saying off the air here, it kind of lasted a little longer, and you kind of heard it was like a rumbling, but maybe thunder,
No,
But
it was so funny. I was downstairs downstairs doing like a workout yesterday afternoon, and I came up, and Jamie's like, I swear to God, I think we just had an earthquake. And I was like, shut up. You know, you're like, shut up.
This building's so big, so
and
it's kind of hard.
about that time, it like came, like people started posting about it.
Yeah, that's
like,
how
I told you.
That's how I found out. Some people were like, I think there might have been an earthquake. And I went to the official site and looked, and sure enough, there was. So I got some information about that.
Yeah.
So that was late Monday afternoon, February 3rd. Small earthquake. The United States Geological Survey has confirmed a 3.1 magnitude earthquake in southern Jackson County. The earthquake hit near Oak Hill in Jefferson Township around 4:04 p.m. And when you put in the coordinates that they give for the epicenter, it's along Zane Oak Road, not far from State Route 93 there in Jefferson Township. And so it's just a little north of the village. Not too far away from the village, though. Originally, they had it as, I guess, a 2.7, but then upped it to a 3.1.
Okay.
And originally, the coordinates showed it out near Pyburko, out on Pyro Road.
Yep.
And later, when I checked it, the coordinates showed actually Zane Oak Road, which was north instead of south of the village down there. And the actual shaking took place about 16 miles below the surface in that area. So that's kind of neat.
It's wild.
And, a 3.1 magnitude earthquake is considered slight on the Richter scale there. But, people all across southern Ohio felt it. Even people down in Kentucky and West Virginia felt it. And I must have grabbed my wrong sheet, but something that was kind of strange was there was another earthquake yesterday evening as well here in the Buckeye State. In Reno, Ohio, down near Marietta.
Really?
Yeah, and it was. I think it was a two. I'd printed off the details for it, but I must have picked up this is an old copy instead of a new copy. But I think it was a 2.8, and it happened I think just before 6 o'clock. So this one was just after 4, and that one was just after 6, same evening, and that's about 2 hours away from here, about 100 miles. And what's strange is a week ago today, Reno had a 2.2 earthquake just last week.
What is happening?
Yes, that's kind of weird. So, Reno had a 2.2 last week on the 28th of January, and then we have a 3.1 here, and then they have another one that's a 2.8 later the same evening. So it's
like
gonna,
dueling earthquakes.
Yeah, it's like, is it coming back? Will it come back to us?
I don't know.
So it's just kind of strange, But a lot of people reported feeling it. Hearing their windows rattle.
I'm kind of disappointed I didn't feel it, just because I would have liked it. I mean, nobody wants to experience it, but it'd be kind of cool.
So I experienced when I was in college. This has been some time ago now. I went to the University of Rio Grande, and we had, I think it was a 3.4, not too far from the village of Rio Grande there. And me and a bunch of my friends were in the library there on campus, and all those big windows in there were shaking, and then we looked it up. And I remember I did back in college, I did little fun videos on YouTube. And there's a video of me talking about this earthquake and interviewing my buddies about it. Did you feel it? And they're like, oh, no, I wasn't here yet, and stuff like that. But anyhow, kind of interesting, but we'll have a story about that hopefully in tomorrow's edition.
Okay.
And did you put the map up? I did. Yeah. I was talking away. Okay, so you guys seen the map. So yesterday there was a special tribute up in the city of Wellston. The Vinton County school bus drivers paid tribute to their fallen colleague, Brenda L. Wilcox, 68 of Corolla, and we have a picture of Brenda here. She was a bus driver for the Vinton County Local School District for 23 years. Wow. She loved her job, loved interacting with all the school-age children, and the bus drivers paid tribute to her by escorting her to her final place of rest.
That is super cool. Oh,
here's
my
a picture
gosh.
we took of all the buses. There was, I think, 13, and the bus there leading the pack, that 1575, that was her bus there behind the cruiser and that other vehicle there.
Nice.
And we have a short video clip that we'll play that shows the procession here.
Good morning. My name is Jeremiah Shaver, and I'm a multimedia journalist with The Telegram. I'm broadcasting live here at the intersection of Pennsylvania Avenue and Broadway Street, where we are awaiting a funeral procession to make its way to where I am. We are here by invitation of the family. The family invited us up because the escort for the funeral procession is pretty unique, as the Benton County Local School District's fleet of buses are going to be in the funeral procession this morning for the late Brenda L. Wilcox, 68 of Crayola, are doing in her memory by joining her, where it will last. So we'll just let this go, and I'm going to step away and get some pictures.
Driver, I'm taking it. Yeah, my dad was a driver.
So there you have it. That was a beautiful tribute there for Brenda Wilcox. Okay, so the video speaks volumes. The family had invited Telegram out to cover that because they thought it was pretty unique that fleet of buses
pretty cool
escorted her to Elk Cemetery there in MacArthur. 13 school buses, including the bus Wilcox drove, and each of the buses, I don't know if you could tell in the video there, had black bows on the front, and then her bus had a black bow with like a pink ribbon with it. So pretty unique. We'll have a photo that we had showed along with her picture and some information. I don't know if it'll be in tomorrow's edition or Saturday's. It depends on what Pete gets ready. So just want to touch on that. Due to the lack of time, we'll come back and talk about this another day. Did want to mention that the candidate filing deadline for city offices is coming up tomorrow. So and this was something that Pete had typed up. He says that both of the cities of Jackson and Wellston are due to elect all city council offices and city treasurer offices for the 2025 election cycle. According to the Jackson County Board of Elections petition filing deadlines, partisan candidates are 4 p.m. on Wednesday, February 5th. Independent candidates must file by 4 p.m. on May 5th. And you can find out more details about those requirements at it's boe.ohio.gov/Jackson.
Okay.
So just wanted to remind people, if you're interested in running,
there
you're
go.
running out of time. If
yes,
you want to
are.
file as a Republican or a Democrat, well, it'd be as a Republican. It's a Republican primary, I think, right? No, maybe not. So anyhow, I think Republican or Democrat.
It would be for
I
both.
think you still have to.
Yeah.
By that deadline.
Tonight, Colton Village Council would normally meet, but Colton Mayor James Jim Milliken has announced that that meeting has been rescheduled to Tuesday, February 18th. Those meetings are normally held the first Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. at the Colton Community Building, and they are open to the public. So note that meeting change. And I got to mention this real quick because I told her that I would because I saw her out in the lobby before I came in. Holzer Health System will conduct its annual Hug Your Heart event on Friday, February 14th. That is
such a good event.
Nice event, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Park's Edge Event Center. And that is 601 East Main Street in Jackson. And the event is held in conjunction with February being American Heart Month. And the event is free and it's geared towards area senior citizens. And in addition to lunch, the event offers valuable services such as health screenings. They usually have some other activities and door prizes and stuff like that. So be sure to mark your calendars for Friday, February 14th, which is Valentine's Day.
Yes, it is.
So, all right.
Pretty good day to do that.
Yeah, so that gets me through the stack here. I got a couple of little things, but we can touch on those. Maybe I can come back tomorrow for a little bit of time to help Pete out.
Heck yeah, we love that. We always love seeing you, so thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you to our special guests today from Holzer and, of course, Jackson Police Chief Brett Hinsch, filling us in on some of the new ordinances and things going on. It's always good to hear, for lack of better words, from the horse's mouth, and he can explain it a lot better than we can. So, all right, have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll be right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.